Hi, Roby kids. It's me, Miss Roby. So today, for our Monday reading lesson, we're going to be continuing practicing drawing inferences. So if you remember from last week or the week before, I had completely forgot, we talked about inferences when we were talking about technology. Well, today we're going to be talking about inferences again, but we're going to be using a new passage. So buckle up, it's going to be great. So our objectives today is we're going to be able to read and understand a biography. Now this part is new. A biography, oops, sorry guys. A biography is a type of writing, this keyword here, biography, and it's about the life of a person. Now this means that the story is written by another person. So for example, if I wanted to write a book about Walt Disney, I'd be writing a biography about Walt Disney's life. But if Walt Disney wrote a book about his own life, that would be an autobiography. So today we're going to talk about a biography, and we're going to read one about a really great inventor, and one that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to share with you. We're also going to be able to deepen our understanding of a text by drawing inferences based on text evidence, so using those clues from the story. We're also going to be able to write about our inference in the text. So that's what we're going to be working on today. So an inference, in case you forgot, make sure you take a look at this video here. Now it's not going to play in my video. You'll have to push pause on our video and open up the slideshow. Hopefully you have the slideshow up already before you started Mr. Roby's video. And in that slideshow, you can watch this learning video on inferences. So if you need to do that, please do that right now. So hit pause. And I want you to watch this video. All right. Hopefully you already did that. And if you didn't, make sure you go back and take a look at that if you're stuck. If you feel like you got it and you don't want to watch that video, that's fine too. I just wanted to provide another option for you. So what's an inference? Well, an inference is when a reader figures out something from the story that wasn't completely explained by the author. So it wasn't explicitly. You might hear Mr. Roby use the word explicitly. That just means it wasn't completely explained. So we have to take what we know and really make clues of that. So here you see that the reader uses what they already know or their background knowledge along with the author wrote or that text evidence, and you're able to put it together to create an inference. And I love this poster because it shows you that, we take your background knowledge, or it says BK, so you, plus your text evidence or what's in the book, and you're able to make a new inference. So for example, in this chart, it says, I know there's a slippery surface can usually cause someone to fall. So if the floor is wet, it's going to make me fall. And I know that because I've seen someone fall on a slippery surface. And it says here that the author wrote that Justin was running on the sidewalk after a terrible thunderstorm when when suddenly he yelled out a loud cry. So based on my knowledge of when someone's running on something slippery, you can fall, based on he's all of a sudden crying in our story and he was running on a wet sidewalk, my inference is that he probably slipped and he fell. So we're taking what we already know, we're adding clues from the text to make our inference. All right, so today that's our purpose. We're going to take our prior knowledge and our text to hopefully create an educated guess about the topic that we're learning. So today we're going to actually use the text Thomas Edison, A Curious Mind, and that's on pages 12 and 16 in our text for close reading. Now, Thomas Edison maybe you already know a little bit about him, and hopefully this will help us learn a little extra. So in order to read this, what I want for you to do is I want for you to log into Benchmark Universe. Now, hopefully you remember how to do that, and if you don't, there is a help sheet on Mr. Roby's blog. We're actually just going to read the first two paragraphs right now. And I want you to open up in Benchmark Universe. Maybe you need to have someone read it to you, and Benchmark Universe does a great job at that. It actually can hit play, and it'll read the whole thing for you. Or if you need to zoom in, they actually have a zoom in feature too. But if for some reason you can't get in, Miss Roby does have the slides here. So go ahead and open up your text for close reading. It's going to be starting on page 12. So right now what I want for you to do is I just want you to look at some of the pictures and look at some of the headings and the titles. What do you think we're going to learn about? Or what do you think Thomas Edison helped create? All right, go ahead and hit pause in this video, and I want you to look at some of those examples. All right, so when I was previewing our text, I was looking at things like it says Thomas Edison, A Curious Mind, and it had one of my favorite of all time kind of quotes by Thomas Edison. And it's this quote right here where it says, genius is 100% inspiration, or 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, meaning that you may have 1% of a tiny idea to get you inspired, but 99% of that is perspiration or sweat. So you got to put in hard work to create something and create that genius. I love that quote. Now, one thing that also stood out to me was that I'm seeing things like around here, like especially on page 14, things like a printer. Look how different that looks, right? I'm seeing a printer. He has a laboratory. He has great inventions. So I'm learning that he's an inventor. I see a phonograph. Okay, and I read this caption. It says, a phonograph helps people communicate. So here, and then this actually said this was a communication tool used to help blind people. And then he says here, we see a picture of Thomas Edison, a young Thomas Edison. And based on the clue here, the laboratory, I'm predicting that this is most likely a picture of maybe or a sketch of what he was performing his experiments in. Now over here, oh, I loved when I was previewing this. Do you guys see this? On page 16, they had Edison's most popular inventions. Look at that. We got to see not only his invention, but we got to see what it was used for. So we have things like an electric train track turntable. Oh my gosh, how awesome is that? Movie camera, an electric pen, a kinetoscope, storage batteries. Look at that phonograph. And so recording back sound, recharging batteries, oh my goodness, all these inventions that Thomas Edison made. So he sounds like a pretty cool guy. And even on this page, we get to see his telegraph machine. Okay, and then so translated coded messages would come. And so here's actually the telegraph, and you would actually push on this little button here, your memo. Very, very cool. So Thomas Edison, A Curious Mind, I'm learning that right away. This guy was definitely a young inventor. He was inventing a lot of stuff. So I need to figure out, how was this man curious? So right now, I want you to go ahead. I want you to read only paragraphs 1 and 2. So that's going to be only on page 12. Go ahead and read paragraphs 1 and 2. Now, if you have Benchmark Universe open, you can hit play and they'll read it for you. Or you can just read it here. So go ahead, hit pause, and I want you to read paragraphs 1 and 2. All right, so hopefully you've read paragraphs 1 and 2. If you didn't, make sure you go back and do that. Otherwise, this may be a little challenging for you. So go back and read paragraphs 1 and 2 if you haven't. If you have, all right, you're all set. So we're going to do our guided practice now. So this is our question that we had. Now remember, we're trying to make inferences while we're reading. So our question here is, what does it mean to have a curious mind? Use text evidence from paragraphs 1 and 2 to support your answer. So we know that the title here was Thomas Edison, A Curious Mind. So our question asks to look at paragraphs 1 and 2 and figure out, what does it mean for someone to have a curious mind? What does that actually mean? So right now, go ahead and I want you to skim through here. Can you make an inference about what does a curious mind have to have? And they said here, Thomas Edison, a curious mind. So it's saying that he's curious. So what does a curious mind mean? Now, not only do you need to answer that question, you need to have evidence. Make sure you have proof about answering what is a curious mind and using this text to help you. So what I want you to do is here, I want you to, in your Google slide, you're going to type out your answer here. Okay, so go ahead, hit pause. I want you to answer this question. When you feel like you have answered this question in your Google slide, come back to this video and I'm going to check it with you. Okay, or at least virtually to see how did you do and see if you were close. Okay, all right, so go ahead, hit pause. Okay, so hopefully now that you have typed out your answer on that slide. Now, if you didn't, you need to go back because this is to check your work. Okay, so we're doing this all on the honesty policy. I should be able to see you going back and checking your work, okay? So please go back and do that question if you haven't. And don't go ahead, right? So make sure that you're following along. So it's time to check our work. Now, remember, our question was, what does it mean to have a curious mind? And we need to use that text evidence from paragraphs 1 and 2 to support our answer. So this question is telling us we're only looking at paragraphs 1 and 2. Okay, and so we're looking for how is it, or what does it mean to have a curious mind? So I'm going to flip back to paragraphs 1 and 2. Let's see if we can identify some evidence here that helps us see what a curious mind is. All right, so I'm going to read this right now with you. Thomas Edison and Curious Mind by Elizabeth Michaels. Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So American inventor Thomas Alva Edison was born on February 11th, 1847 in Milan, Ohio. So I'm still going to annotate this because this seems like an important fact to Miss Roby. So I'm going to annotate that right now. I'm going to get my marker out here. He was the 7th and youngest child in his family. Wow, that's a big family. Edison barely spoke a word until he was almost 4 years old. Wow. Oh my goodness, I put an exclamation mark. After that, he started asking many questions about how things worked. I wonder if that means that he was a curious mind. One of his most common questions was just one word, why? His parents tried to answer all his questions. Sometimes they simply did not know the answers. Edison's curiosity helped him become a great inventor. So look at this last sentence here. It says Edison's curiosity helped him become a great inventor. That word curiosity, that looks a lot like curious right up here, see? So it looks a lot like curious. I bet a curious mind and Edison's curiosity, I bet that means the same thing. So what showed that Edison's curiosity helped him become a great inventor? What does it mean if someone is curious? Let's look back in this text. Did something come out to you that helps understand how his brain is working? Oh, I had a couple things that came up. It says, after that, he started asking many questions about how things worked. Do we think maybe that might mean curious? You're asking questions? One of his most common questions was just one word, why? Oh, wow. His parents tried to answer all his questions. Sometimes they simply did not know the answers. Edison's curiosity helped him become a great inventor. So as a reader, I'm seeing that everything kind of mentioned in this bottom of this first paragraph is all about asking questions. So that is helping me see that maybe, once again, sorry, Mr. Roby's messiness, that asking questions, and I'm making an inference here, leads to curiosity. So if you have a curious mind, I bet that means you're asking a lot of questions. All right, let's look at paragraph 2. Can we also have a little evidence there? Let's see. At 7, Edison went to school in a one-room schoolhouse with children of all ages. The teacher suspected there was something wrong with Edison because he questioned everything. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So there's another question. So his teacher thought something was wrong. Oh, that silly teacher, right? He did poorly in mathematics. He had speech problems. After he struggled for 3 months, Edison's mother removed him from school. She believed it would be better to teach him at home. By age 11, Edison was reading books on various subjects. He developed a system to educate himself. Oh my goodness. So here, he even did bad in math. So some of you that are feeling bad in math, just think about this. Thomas Edison, he did bad in math. He had a speech issue, and he still was able to be some of the brightest people of all time. That's amazing to me. All right, so right here, I get another piece of evidence of him being curious because he was questioning everything, even at school. So this is helping me infer that having a curious mind might mean he's asking a lot of questions and questioning everything. So let's take a look at that question. So remember, before I go further, guys, remember when you're doing questions, especially questions like this where you have to provide text evidence, it is so important to make a great third grade answer using that WRAP strategy. Now, if you remember the WRAP strategy, and I'm going to write it down here. Oops, here we go. So remember, R-A-P. So remember, R stands for restate your question, right? Restate your question. You need to then answer your question and your provide evidence. Okay, those are the three things that Miss Roby and everybody, when you're reading and answering a question, no matter what subject, these are the three things that we're looking for a great third grade response. So when I read these, I'm looking for that. So let's see if I did that on the next slide. All right, so remember, R stands for restate, right? And write it up here, R-A-P. So let's see, did Miss Roby restate her question? Based on the text, Thomas Edison Curious Mind, I can infer that having a curious mind, is that the question that I had to answer? Yep. Here is my R. Okay, now I need to do my A, my answering a question. I can infer that having a curious mind means that you are constantly asking the why questions. Did I just answer it? Yep, checking it off. Okay, all right, now P, remember P's provide evidence. So let's see, did I do that? One reason why I think this is because in paragraph 1, it says that Thomas Edison always had questions about the way things work. Did Miss Roby, did we just get a proof? Yeah, do you remember how we found that in the text? Great. I also noticed in paragraph 2, it says that Edison's teacher thought something was wrong with him since he was questioning everything. Did I just get another proof? Perfect. Now, since he is always asking questions, I believe that curious means you are questioning. Okay, so to take it even further, make sure you restate your answer one last time. Okay, so great. I just did a inferring about curious mind. So hopefully yours was pretty close. It's okay if it's a little different, but hopefully use that WRAP strategy. All right, guys. So now it's time for that independent practice. You are going to try this on your own, inferring. So I'm pretty excited for you because you're actually going to finish reading the passage about Thomas Edison. Now, Thomas Edison is by far one of my favorite inventors. And luckily in the summer, Miss Roby actually works at Greenville Village, and I get to see a lot of artifacts from Thomas Edison. So make sure when that opens back up, maybe you and your family can take a trip. They have a lot of really cool stuff from Thomas Edison. So make sure you take a look at finishing this passage. Now, when you're done reading, you're going to complete the close reading question on the next slide. Here's that big thing Miss Roby's looking for with this answer. Okay, using that WRAP strategy. Okay, and that strategy is down here in case you needed me to remember it. Now, we're all inferring, so here's another inferring question. All right, here's your question. All right, so here's your question. How did Thomas Edison work and think? So what was his idea? Or what did he believe in as a working, what was his working environment like? How did he think? Meaning, did he give up easily? What was his mindset? Right? Did he have a growth mindset? Was he a hard worker? Did he give up easily? How would you describe the way he worked in the way that he thought? So I want you to use text evidence to support your answer. So I'm looking for 2 pieces of evidence. Don't forget, the RAP strategy always needs 2 pieces of evidence. So in the text, look for the ways that Thomas Edison worked and the way that he thought. And give me some examples of his mindset. All right, guys, good luck. And if you get stuck, just let me know. Have a great day.